back to the Pack Chat, our student voice opinion segment. I'm joined today by my co-host, Victor Martinez, Sam Mack, and our guest co-host, Katie Whitmarsh, as we discuss this week's most trendy topics. Yesterday, we posted some polls on our Instagram story at CPHS News to get your thoughts on our topics beforehand so we can bring them up in our discussion. So thank you to everyone who responded. With that being said, let's get started. First, the Texas Education Agency is requiring all Texas students to take the STAAR test this spring in person. Last spring, the tests were canceled due to COVID, but last week it was announced the tests are required this year. There have been several calls from parents and teachers to repeal this, but the TEA says the test will resume. Many are upset mainly due to the mandatory in-person rule. So, what do you guys think about this, and what do you think that means for the year that we've had? The majority of students in Texas have been in online school, and a lot of people are concerned for their safety. So what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay, sure. So I think, from a health standpoint and from a school standpoint, it's just not a reasonable expectation to have kids go in person to take a STAAR test right now, especially something that for some grades could determine if they advance or to the next grade or not. For example, in a lot of our online classes and everything, in a lot of our tests, we are expected to be able to use our notes and stuff like that, just because we're in a home setting and it's difficult to really monitor whether or not what resources we are and aren't using. So a lot of tests that we've taken have just had that expectation that we're gonna use our notes that we've taken in class in order to take the test, and that's not going to be available on a test like the STAAR test. So it's just, we've had a different learning environment, and to have a whole different environment just for that test doesn't make a lot of sense. When we asked on our poll if the students thought it was fair, 11% said it was fair and 89% said it wasn't, which I thought was interesting. Yeah.
I definitely think it's interesting because of all years to have a STAAR test, this is the year. And I know last year no student likes the STAAR test. I don't know very many people that like standardized tests. So when they were canceled last year, I know personally that's one thing I didn't have to worry about. But of all years to have it, I definitely don't think this is the year. And to make it mandatory to go in person definitely is not the move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sam, what do you think?
I agree. I think this is way too important of a test just to throw on kids this year, especially not being in school. It doesn't really make sense to me because it's not really an easy test. It's it's a ton of questions, and it's a test that they're not going to be used to because they haven't done one like it all year.
Definitely. Next, a Reddit attack on Wall Street has several hedge fund owners upset. Last week, mass amounts of people decided to invest money in AMC, GameStop, and Bed Bath & Beyond, raising the value of those almost bankrupt companies, which several hedge fund companies had bet against which costed them billions of dollars. In retaliation, several online brokerage firms halted the sale of these companies, which has led to many open lawsuits into why, and also the legality in closing an open market. What do you guys think about this? I don't know if you guys saw this all over the internet. It was a pretty big deal last week. These people on Reddit, they decided that they were going to invest their money mainly into GameStop, which was a pretty much bankrupt company. And so, for all these billionaires who had, bet against it, they didn't think anyone would ever invest their money into it ever again. They lost a ton of money, but while the normal Americans, the middle class Americans, they made a ton of money. And so, it's kind of the question of where, can you close this open market? Can they legally stop the sales of these stocks?
I don't agree with what Robinhood did at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe a company should be able just to be no, even though you bought these shares, they're just gone. Sorry, you just don't have them anymore. I don't believe that's right because that's money that they invested, and I think that the lawsuits are necessary. Because that's just messed up to do to people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's a move that just shows that they care much more about protecting the hedge funds than they do for protecting the money of the people. Which that's what they should be focusing on. That's the whole purpose of the stock market. In the poll that we asked how sorry we should feel for the hedge fund companies, and 9% of people said they don't deserve it. 91% said they had it coming. So
Yeah.
also pretty swayed results. I think it's interesting that you kind of see people of all different like political backgrounds kind of coming together on this one issue and agreeing on it. I thought that was genuinely so interesting.
Yeah, I saw AOC, she tweeted something and Ted Cruz tweeted her back and said, I fully agree. And it was about how, that you can't do that. You can't just halt the sales of stocks because your company is losing money.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of, that's not an open market then.
Mm-hmm.
And last, Kylie Jenner is under fire after disobeying COVID laws in LA and throwing her daughter Stormy a birthday party. Los Angeles COVID cases have passed 1 million, and it is suggested to quarantine following traveling, which Kylie also did not do. The party was smaller than previous years, but was still in and outside without masks. So what do you guys think about this? And how do you think, more importantly, the question that I kind of want to be answered is, how do you guys think celebrities have handled this pandemic? How do you think, as people with huge privilege, they obviously have way more money than the average American, how do you think that they've handled this pandemic?
I think that some have actually handled it well and they've been in quarantine, but I also think there's definitely other ones that know that they can do what they want, really. Like they can have these parties and some people will be mad, but then a couple weeks later it should be forgotten. It's because they're just that big famous. But I think it's kind of split 50-50 of some doing a good job quarantining and then others not doing such a good job.
Yeah, I agree. Especially at the beginning. I remember at the very beginning of the pandemic, celebrities were making such a big deal out of look, I'm in quarantine, look, wear a mask, blah, blah, blah. And then now a lot of those same celebrities and influencers and everything are just kind of throwing these parties and having these super spreader events. And it's just I feel like these types of people, when you're a celebrity, when you have that kind of enormous platform, there should be some expectation for you to realize that you are a role model to a lot of people and that you are what a lot of people are going to model their behavior after. And if you're out doing stuff like this, you're just going to contribute to a bunch of other people following in your footsteps and just overall making the pandemic worse. So
no, and I do agree. I like what both of y'all had to say. It's interesting because it's people that have a lot of money and a lot of followers, and they can put themselves out there and the whole world will see what they're doing. So for them to just openly disobey laws that have been in place for a reason to keep people safe, it's just interesting. And I like what Sam had to say about how this will be the big thing today, but tomorrow something else will happen. And because they have all of this fame and money, it'll just be brushed underneath the carpet and not very many people will, keep the story going, which I think would be important because I know all of us want this to be over, but we have to all follow the rules for that to happen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's all we have for today. And remember, 12 pack, there's always time to chat.